Tag TV and Tag Radio. Be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by Globalspeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of Globalspeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. From the word we use for the first month of the year, January, to the Waterford crystal ball that drops in New York's Times Square, the New Year's Day holiday is filled with symbolism. The Romans dedicated New Year's Day to Janus, the god of gates and doors and beginnings. Janus, January, get it? The deity Janus had two faces, one looking forward and the other looking backwards. Consider this. The famous ball drop in Times Square, it represents a now obsolete device used by ancient mariners as a time signaling tool. A large painted wooden or metal ball was dropped at a predetermined time to enable navigators to verify marine locations from ships offshore. Get this for symbolism. Accurate timekeeping? It's a primary means by which longitude can be determined at sea. Gates, doors, beginnings, two faces, one looking forward and the other looking backward, accurately determining one's perspective and, well, where you are at when you've set out exploring and are ready to discover what's new and ahead. Greetings, everyone. It's Friday, December 28th, 2012, and this is the second in a series of 2012 annual Tech Talk year-end reviews and a look forward to a new year for the Technology Association of Georgia. With TAG President Tino Mantella, I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. Our last discussion had only just begun after more than 20 minutes had seemingly flown by. Tino spoke of achievements, activities, proactive economic and government development, and many other actions during 2012. In this segment, the Tech Talk turns to a deeper look into last year's goals and accomplishments, and then takes a long view on the new societies, expanded membership, statewide expansion, bigger and even better events, and more to come in 2013. It's the Tech Talk annual member update and an insider view of the new year as we join together, as we all have, in dedicated support and involvement to hear TAG's president, Tino Mantella. Well, Tino, welcome back to our second part of our series in talking about the incredible 2012 year of the Technology Association, but also maybe you're looking into a little bit of 2013. So welcome to Tech Talk.
Thank you. It's good to be on the other side of the program.
You know all the answers. You know where it's going and where it's headed. Let's talk a little bit. I guess to begin with, last year a number came out. $113.1 billion was the tech industry's impact on Georgia. More current information. I know you guys are setting up and beginning to work on this year's state of the industry. How's it looking?
Well, you get a sneak peek here, but the $113.1 billion is, I think we're getting everyone's attention with that, including the governor, and he's talking a lot more about technology. People are starting to learn that technology represents about 17% of the GDP for the state of Georgia. So our message, and we have to send it over and over again to multiple groups, is that technology is extremely important to Georgia, and I think that tees up a lot of other opportunities in respect to where funding is resourced in the technology area as opposed to perhaps some other areas. Mm-hmm. In other words, getting the share that's necessary based on the potential for growth. So, and that's the $113.1 billion. As we move into 2013, we're in the final stages of research, and it looks good. One thing that we already see is that the number of employees in Georgia in technology may be close to an all-time high, up from last year was up, and this year looks like it's going up again. So that's a real good sign. And we see a lot of companies, as you do, Frank, that are growing by leaps and bounds. Some are certainly downsizing, but that's compensated for in respect to ones that are growing.
Well, I think some of it is market evolution and not necessarily the economics, the economy itself. It's just that some areas are getting stronger, fintech and health IT, while others, I think, are facing new competition and new challenges. Let's talk a little bit about, when you talk about the state of Georgia, we touched upon it in our last segment about the outreach that TAG is now doing as far as other chapters, Savannah, Middle Georgia, Augusta, Athens, Columbus. How's that maturing out?
And we talked a little bit about this in the last session, as you say, but it is something that we're proud of. We started this again a few years back where we said we wanted to be a statewide organization as the Technology Association of Georgia versus the Technology Association of Atlanta. That's really our mission, to deliver services and help companies grow, create jobs, drive the economy across the state. And we started with a foothold in Savannah, which is now through its second year. We hired a full-time staffer out there, and it's going quite well. They're looking to build a mini Atlanta program, if you will, with perhaps a couple societies. We have CIOs meeting out there. We have a big event, which we talked a little bit about, talk some more about the STEM event that we hold in Savannah. So they've got a board out there. It's going quite well. Then we followed up with opening up chapters this year in Augusta and also in Middle Georgia, the Macon area. And the Augusta one has taken off very nicely with lots of enthusiasm. I mean, the people out there really would love to have something going on all the time, and we're starting to build towards that. We have a part-time person out there. And then Heather Miner on our team here is doing a nice job in terms of driving the business in Augusta. Middle Georgia is a little slower in the uptick, but we're making some progress there as well. They have a board there, and they do have a program. And so that's where we stand today, but we're looking, we've just opened Columbus with our first board meeting there. And we may even, we've been invited into Henry County to start some programming there. And so that'll probably be it for 2013, but the hope is that we go deeper into those areas as we open up new ones. We don't forget about the ones we've started, but actually trying to create more opportunities for the people there. And then they can always take advantage of the webinars and the TAG Radio and TAG TV and other things that we do for them in this area.
Well, I think it's a validation. I think in a lot of cases these organizations, much like Atlanta, needed a certain level of validation, needed a centralized location to deal with best practices and networking. A lot of the things that we've done here that I wouldn't say we've taken for granted, but now have evolved to maturity, GTS and Excalibur, those are things that prove fruitful for Atlanta that are equally as important for Savannah or Augusta. So, and as we progressively go through the year, we talked a little bit about the GTS last year. Certainly, again, a recognition that has really become more and more and more important with each passing year is the top 10 most innovative companies. And, of course, the Hall of Fame, you mentioned in the last segment that this last year, or this year actually, we had 3 inductees and not just 1 going into the Technology Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that was unusual, and they're in the middle of figuring out who it's going to be for 2013. But it's always, GTS is going to be another great event. We already have the founder of the Ethernet, and we've got a couple big names that we're trying to wrap up that I think the community will be really excited about. So stay tuned for more on that.
But again, we're looking for nominations or at least awareness of potential competitors for the next year's top 40 most innovative, top 10 most innovative.
Yeah, that's important. I think they're already getting applications in, but we definitely, if you're listening in, you're a company that has an innovative technology and based in Georgia, please apply. We'd love for you to apply.
One of the things that I know that you've really taken a personal passion and a commitment to is economic development, and obviously one of the plays has been around for a long time, and that's the business launch competition. Collector Dash this year walked away with the big money and the big recognition, but that's proven to mature itself out and play a major role. I think Cap Venture, certainly in that arena, is something that has become crucially important with each passing year. And again, the things that we talk about here in Atlanta are things that are going to be equally as important as some of the outreach locations as we begin to truly become a statewide organization. Talk a little bit about the connecting aspect, because one of the things we touched upon in our last segment was the growth of the societies, both in numbers but also in the depth in the things that they're doing. Maybe touch a little bit about that.
Well, we're really happy to see that the societies are evolving. That was our hope and expectation, and that's under the direction of Melanie Brandt and certainly all the chairmen of the 31 different societies and our staffers that support that, and the boards that are part of those societies. We're all singing out of the same hymn book, if you will, and the goal was to say, your baseline is 5 meetings a year, basically, where you're exchanging thought leadership and knowledge. And that in itself is important and good, and some societies, frankly, will stop there, at least in the short term. But for most of them, almost half now, they're taking it to the next level. And to the next level are things like the TAG Marketing Awards, the Southeastern Software Association's Impact Awards, the FinTech Symposium, the Health IT Summit, the Diversity Awards, and those are just 5 examples of what the societies are doing. Some are doing research, some are doing certification programs, so they're very creative in terms of what they want to do, and TAG, sometimes it's like get out of the way and let them go. Other times we're pushing them up the hill, but in either case, we're proud of what they're doing. There's probably going to be about 15 major events coming through the societies next year, and the community just really is excited about that and participates heavily when we offer something that relates to their area of interest.
Well, and again, it's education, networking, I think a certain amount of validation, but also I think just the sheer opportunity to be able to get together. And, we've seen it happen to the degree of the Health IT Leadership Summit now has become truly a major event. FinTech is right behind, not to imply that it's not doing a spectacular job, but also it's growing with each passing year. One event that you mentioned earlier, just kind of touched upon, was in Savannah, a little bit of a twist. We're not talking societies now, but we are talking education collaborative. There's a whole nother aspect of TAG that a lot of our members are already active in. Some may not be aware of. You've got the Web Challenge that's been on for a couple of years in high school. Now it's going to middle school, and, of course, the Georgia Department of Education Student Innovation Awards. But really, talk a little bit about the first annual STEM Education Awards. You were able to even get the Lieutenant Governor, Casey Cagle, to come out and launch that.
Well, again, TAG Education Collaborative is an important extension of TAG work, and the genius of the two organizations, if you will, working together is the TAG Education's goal is to get kids excited about math, science, technology, and engineering in hopes that they'll pursue careers in those areas or at least have a better understanding of what the opportunities are. And TAG, through its 18,000 members, provides the leverage. So, for example, if there's a company that is interested in supporting STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, maybe they'll take an intern for the summer, a rising high school senior that has a propensity towards STEM, and give them a great summer experience. So the two organizations working together makes for one strong implementation in terms of what we hope will be outcomes in the area of STEM. Our best results will be seeing more students coming out of high school and going to 2-year, 4-year schools or post-grad for something in the STEM area, because we really have a shortage. And a number of things that we're doing through TAG Ed, you mentioned the Web Challenge, there's the high school internship program, there's now Web Challenges just started for middle schoolers in addition to high schoolers, and the STEM event is the next step, kind of the culmination of the year where we recognize students and schools from around the state. And we had many applications this year for schools that were looking to be part of that, and we had it in Savannah. It was a great turnout for the first year. Over 200 people attended that, and we look forward to growing that? It's already set on the calendar for 2013.
Well, a lot of technology talks about from source to consumption, supply chain, just in time, all of the things that have been impacted by disruptive technologies. I think one of the things from an outsider looking in, even for that matter, an active member of TAG, certainly understands that you're addressing the entire, if you will, ecosystem. When you talk about STEM, you're talking about the need of education and bringing in a more talented and educated workforce. And on the other side, you're talking about things like Cap Venture or things like the business launch competition and even the societies that are actually helping to have that process be implemented into startups or to grow existing verticals as far as various industries are concerned. You mentioned 18,000 plus members. That's also 18,000 voters. Let's talk a little bit about legislation and a little bit about the efforts that TAG puts into trying to focus on getting the attention and maybe educating some of our legislators on important issues that involve the technology industry.
You're right. They are voters, and they're people that can step up, and oftentimes, if you're in the technology space, as I imagine would be in other areas, other industries as well, you don't always think that that's an important piece to look and see what the state's doing, and sometimes it's until it's too late. So TAG's role is to be on the defense when we need to be, making sure that there's not any laws, particularly in the state of Georgia, that would be harmful to job development and growth for our industry. At the same time, we want to be proactive when we see some things that are important to drive in respect to supporting our industry. A few things that we've been successful in the past include leading the charge on allowing the state pension funds to be used for alternative investments. That's been about a 12-year effort to get that through, and finally it's been approved at least for state pension funds, which would be great for the pensioners more than anything in terms of being able to have those pension fund managers have another tool in their toolkit in terms of investing. So we've also helped in the schools where we were able to kind of expand the idea of using digital content in terms of funding that versus or at least complementing textbooks. So when schools are ordering now for what they need in terms of content, they can look to electronic content, and there's lots of advantages to that, as our listeners know, and not just textbooks. So we were able to get that through. And also an angel investment tax credit, which is in its early stages, and we're expecting over the next couple of years to see strong results there. So next on the docket are a couple things. One is we've just completed, with the help of JV Consulting and a number of leaders in the legislative side and then also from the community side, a strategic plan for technology and science, which we presented a couple weeks ago at a basically a summit for the government and technology area. And so we're hopeful that a number of those elements within the plan will be implemented over the course of the next 3 to 5 years, some of them as early as this coming year. One that's on the top of our list is we're working with the Lieutenant Governor and a team of people to see if we can have an investment fund of $100 million for venture funding, both early stage and I'll say growth companies. And it's very much needed here. And too early to tell how it's going to go, but we've definitely got it out there and it's on the radar. The governor knows about it. Lieutenant Governor, very aware of it and been very supportive of the idea. And it's a tough economy in terms of getting anything new done, but we think we have a good plan for this. So those are some of the things on legislation. Then we just have to keep our eyes open to play defense when we need to as well. Well, the truth of it is big ideas take time in a process, and even if it turns out that it works out now, that's great, but the reality of it is that we're on our way, and that's what's important, to keep at it and at it and at it to make it happen. You know, one of the things that I think in many cases kind of goes a little bit unnoticed, but I think when we talk about sponsorship at events and we talk about things like 210 premier members, people who have stepped up beyond their traditional membership fees to say, hey, I'm committed,
these are the kinds of things that happen because of those kind of sponsorships, because of those kind of commitments, that a lot of times, because of the diversity, somebody may be aware of one aspect, but they're not aware of the full spectrum of all of the things that are going on. I know you mentioned earlier about a couple of staff members. There's a whole, I think, customer service mentality at TAG. Not that there wasn't one before, but now there's the amount of activity and the amount of people to handle that activity in a professional way that produces the kind of results that we're going through here, whether it's an event or it's expansion from a statewide standpoint or a STEM education award ceremony, and also even from that matter, the connecting of the societies and some of the legislation. Let's talk a little bit about PR and promotion, because that's another aspect I think that TAG is involved in that a lot of people are not aware of.
Go over that again. Sorry, Frank. What area are you asking me about?
PR and promotion. And,
oh, yeah.
We've covered, what we're talking about now is the entire ecosystem, so we've kind of covered STEM and kids. We've gone all the way to capital, and now we've gone to the capital in terms of getting involved in government. We were talking now about the next step of what happens with the level of contribution that happens during the year. We talk about PR and promotion.
Yeah, well, that's an area that's important to us. We didn't see anyone else stepping up to focus on that over the last few years anyway. Budgets have been cut, and so we felt like we were in the best position to start driving the issue of Georgia having a strong technology industry. And it's been a steady effort. We have a full-time PR director. We're actually in the final stages of a search for a new PR director. But it's been a really good start. We have created a video, as you know, around Where Georgia Leads. The governor kicked off the campaign. We have 7 Where Georgia Leads maps that reflect the major industries where we're in the top 5 in the nation, and we want to let people know about that. It started letting people inside the state know about it because we felt in Georgia that Georgians don't necessarily know that technology is as important as it is to our industry. For example, it represents 1/3 of the exports of our state. So we measure media impressions. Over the last couple of years, we've had over 350,000 media impressions around technology. And so we're just looking to continue to grow that, have more impact, and ideally what we'd like to do is get other community partners to join forces so we can have a bigger bang, and we'll be working on that through 2013.
Well, again, a busy year, but let's talk as we end the second of our series in terms of a review of 2012. I think we'd be remiss in not looking a little bit ahead and saying what's in store for 2013.
We have a number of new things on the drawing board. One thing we want to do is continue to work with our high-level leaders in the community. So I would say CEOs, CIOs, CMOs, and CFOs will be some of the groups that we're working with, and even chief sales officers will be another group. So we started with CIO roundtables. We did 4 of those this year, 2012. Next year we'll add a CIO, at least one, probably 2 CIO, CFO activities. So we will have one sales roundtable for chief sales officers, and then additionally we're doing a number of things for CEOs, including CEO dinners, CEO retreat, probably at East Lake Golf Course again, and this is all to pull people together, kind of like thinking, challenge each other, share thought leadership in ways to make those connections. So that'll be an important piece. We'll want to go deeper on the statewide agenda. We'll want to go deeper on the entrepreneur agenda, continue to grow our promotion area. I already talked about legislation, build a STEM event, support the societies in terms of their areas of growth. So those are a number of things that we'll be looking to do, and a few surprises along the way. We'll probably be opening 2 more societies, but most of our listeners know those things take time. We need to get enough critical mass. One that we're looking at right now is a retail technology society, so if there's anyone listening in that feels like they would like to be part of that, please let us know. There's an amazing number of companies in Georgia that focus on retail technology, and both from a standpoint of providing the technology and then also providing service to the technology. So you have the developers and also the entrepreneurs, and we think that that'll be a strong one. And then one that we're exploring is one for programmers, because as you know, Frank, we've never really got into providing a society for those groups that are involved with Java and .NET and C++. And so we won't be specific to any one of those that I mentioned, but we'd like to do is explore creating an opportunity for people that are in the programming areas to come together to talk about things that are important to them. So may not be of interest to everybody in that case, but certainly there'll be some that said, boy, it's about time you're doing something for programmers.
Well, I think a lot of the society started out as a small focus group that didn't necessarily have the broadest audience, and all of a sudden, over a period of time, people started to say, hey, I'm one of those, and they just got bigger and bigger. We're running a little longer than we normally do, but I was just thinking to myself, just a few short years ago, it would have taken a struggle to get a 12-minute conversation to talk about anything new other than, obviously, the GTS or Excalibur, the kind of things that we were doing then. Now it's a case where I think we're going to have to start doing a mid-year report rather than an annual, because there's simply too much going on during the course of a 12-month period of time to cover in a short enough segment. So, number one, hats off. Again, a banner successful year. 2012 had to be historic on a lot of different levels, the successes and the goals that have been met and the objectives that are being outlaid that were accomplished during 2012. And now we're looking ahead for 2013. So, again, I'm going to say to all of our listeners, all of our members, number one, I think I would express with Tino a blessed and Merry Christmas season, holiday season, and also a great New Year. But also hats off to you, Tino, for all of the work and all of that your great staff has been doing. But I also know that you are one of those strongest advocates that you don't do it alone, that it's all part of a team effort with the board of directors and the leadership council and the members themselves. So hats off and congratulations to all of us, because I think, we just recently had a chance to talk to Jim Smith, the promotional director for the Falcons, and they use a great term that I think we can start using in TAG, and that's rise up, because it's all of it's set in motion and everything's on a platform for us to take it to another level. Again, happy holidays and extreme congratulations for a great 2012 and a happy new year to you and to all of our members.
Well, Frank, thanks for joining me on Tech Talk, and I'm glad I joined you on Tech Talk today. We're, as you said, it has been a good year, and it wouldn't be possible without people like you and all of the listeners, all of our members. Membership makes the organization. The organization doesn't make the membership. So we're really happy to have 18,000 members. We're shooting for 21,000 by the end of next year. So we'll keep rising up and growing as long as our members see that we're doing the right things and are part of it. I don't think there's any way to fail. We're just that's not in our vocabulary. We'll just keep moving and proud of the work that we're all doing. So thank you and happy holidays to everybody.